Hey everybody, wanted to make another video talking about the 3.24 patch notes. Now you may be thinking, oh great, here's another one in a million videos talking about the 3.24 patch notes. Well, this video is going to be quite different from the other million videos talking about the new upcoming league and patch notes. I am specifically only going to be focusing on Ruthless. So if you're planning to play Ruthless, if you're interested in potentially trying Ruthless, I am specifically going to be going over the Ruthless changes of patch 3.24 Necropolis. There might be only one or two other people on the entire YouTube platform that make a video like this, so hopefully this will be useful to somebody. Because there's not a lot of Ruthless content out there. So basically, patch notes, Necropolis League kind of looks like a crafting league, which is pretty exciting. I am sure, just as there was with the Recombinators, there's probably going to be some very interesting combinations and things you can do. It seems to always be that way with Necropolis. Just looking at some stuff here. Oh, hold on. So there's some interesting items already here, like for instance this +1 power charge non-influenced hubris circlet. Pretty cool. This is a pretty powerful item. So clearly there's gonna be some level of kind of like min-maxing, and you can definitely looks like you can push items to some new levels with this league. So it's going to be a crafting league. For Ruthless specifically, this is a good thing because it's going to give more availability to get rare items, get upgrades, and pretty much just progress your character. Doesn't look like this is going to be as insane as Affliction, just as a kind of high level overview of how much quantity of items you get. But I still think this league is gonna be pretty good for Ruthless. So jumping straight into it, I am going to just search Ruthless here. We're going to kind of go over everything that's mentioned. There is a Ruthless specific change. So obviously getting the Ruthless as expected, 8 challenges in Ruthless. Pretty much it's going to be the 5 standard challenges and then 3 league mechanic specific challenges. That is what I'm anticipating. That's the way it's been for a little while. So you get the 5 base challenges. It's like get to level 90, unlock all favored content, kill like 1,000 rare monsters and level 80 plus or something like that. So those are all the base challenges that I assume that's what they're going to be again. Not much change there, and probably the 3 new league mechanic challenges. So kind of exactly what we expected there. Going over the first thing here, obviously there's a lot of Atlas skill changes. Amplified energies. Atlas no possible, not concentration maps have at least 1 essence at the highest tier possible. Ruthless is unaffected by the change, so that doesn't matter at all. And so clearly now, as we kind of anticipated, there's been a bit of betrayal rework. Interestingly enough, some of these do not apply to Ruthless, and some of them do. It's pretty interesting. Essence, Harvest, Anarchy. We don't get these with Ruthless with certain safe houses, but other Scarabs we do. So it's interesting how they only selected some to not be in Ruthless, but other ones are still available. So I thought that was kind of interesting. My guess is they just feel that some Scarabs are stronger than others, perhaps, so they're trying to kind of limit that. Truth be told, I am not too sure. Very interestingly, the Sentinel of Radiance got yet another nerf, yet no change in Ruthless. So it looks like Ruthless's Sentinel of Radiance is already pretty nerfed to the ground. And yeah. So another interesting thing here, added a set of modifiers that cause strong boxes to contain additional scarabs of a particular type. These modifiers can be on strong boxes of all kinds. Modifiers cannot appear in Ruthless. So they're clearly trying to limit some of the capacity to get these scarabs in Ruthless, because now that these scarabs are a big source of just content in maps, they're just trying to kind of throttle that down a little bit in Ruthless, so we don't get the extra scarabs from strong boxes, which, you know, fair enough. Not really Ruthless specific, but tattoos are back, but seems like they're with pretty heavy nerfs. Definitely not anywhere near as strong as many of them were prior. It looks like now, instead of giving some kind of big bonus, they just give some kind of like minor bonus. Like looks like approximately at about 50% of the strength, roughly. Anyways, going to Ruthless specific changes. Here, let's begin. So the big one is that Einar, Alva, June, and Nico are now part of the pool available outcomes for extra content individually. Now, the way I understand this, and the way I'm kind of certain that this works, so back in 3.23, when you, let me actually pull up this, when you selected, when you roll a map in Ruthless, it had pretty much a option, or a chance, I should say a chance, to get 1 in 11 outcomes. And the 1 in 11 outcomes were 10 of them were any of the league content, individual league content mechanics, and then the 11th one was one of the master missions. So the way it's changing now, and the way I understand this is, let me get back to it. Basically now, instead of 1 in 11, it's going to be now 1 in 14 to get each specific master mission. So basically, that what used to be 1 in 11 chance to get any master is now a 1 in 14 chance, with the 1 in 4 extras, or the extra 4 additional being each specific one. So basically what this means is the pool is a little bit diluted, because now every single master can be selected individually from the whole pool. Before, the pool would just roll, and if you hit the master mission, then it would select. If it hit the 1 in 11 master mission, then it would select the 1 in 4 for which master. Now, all the master missions are just mixed in with the pool of league content. So basically what this is telling me is now we have a 1 in 14 chance. So the pool is a little bit diluted. So now by doing league mechanic cancellations like this, using these nodes to remove certain content, you're still kind of, even if you have everything removed except one thing, back in 3.23, it was a 50-50 chance. So you would either get a master mission or you would get the league content. Now it is actually a 1 in 5 chance to get a specific league content. So that is a bit of a nerf to blocking out 9 out of 10 content pieces, because now it's not a 1 in 2. It's technically it's a 1 in 5 now. So that's just a pretty big change. So and there's some new changes to the nodes here, which we'll look at here, and that'll sort of there'll be a change as to how we should play with that. So next one here, bonus objectives for tier 11 to 15 maps no longer require the map to be corrupted. This is a pretty nice quality of life change. It seems like quality of life has been sort of a focus with this patch, and no longer having to have the maps corrupted for red tier maps is a pretty welcome quality of life for Ruthless, being that that we don't have to rely on finding Val Orbs to complete red maps. That was the big kind of bottleneck. It felt pretty bad when you had a bunch of red maps, but you just couldn't run them, or you didn't want to run the non-completion map, not the maps that you don't have completed, because you don't have a Val Orb. That just felt kind of bad. So now the fact that we don't need the map to be corrupted, we could just run all the maps. It's not going to feel crappy when you get that one red map you're missing, you val it, and it turns into a different map you already have. That's not going to happen anymore. So overall, I think this is a pretty welcome change. It does make it a slightly higher ease of completing the whole Atlas in Ruthless, but I think it's a pretty good change. Pretty minor one here. Again, another small quality of life. All hideout NPCs now refill flasks. Great. Next one. So they've clearly done something here to Betrayal that is pretty much the same work that they did to the Alva Temple, in where basically now it's the average of all level areas for Betrayal progress that will be the Betrayal safe house. So this is kind of the same thing that they did with Incursion and Alva, where back before you could do like a bunch of tier like 2 maps and then one tier 15 map, and you got a tier 15 temple. They changed that, so now it's just the average. And basically they're doing the same thing for Betrayal now. So it's a little bit of a nerf, but it's pretty minor. This isn't as big of a deal as it was with Incursion, but it is a little bit of a nerf. Bone Barrier, Ascendancy passive skill, no longer provides all this stuff. Basically, this has to do with the no left mouse button instant skill anymore. Essentially, now that if Bone Barrier was still active in the game, you would basically have to manually press it, because back before this they would just put Bone Barrier on left click. Since that option is now gone, you know, and you can't use the automation link gem for Bone Barrier, they basically removed Bone Barrier and just made a passive effect that you don't have to activate. So I didn't really look closely. It's hard to say if this is better or not. 40% life as extra ES and 1% damage dealt by your minions as leech as life. Seems pretty good. I'm just kind of curious, actually. I'm not planning to roll Necromancer, but it would be interesting to see. Grants 1% additional physical damage reduction up to 10%. Okay, and 2% increase recovery rate up to 20%. So 10% phys reduction and 20% life and ES recovery rate. Interesting. Yeah, and now you get the leech instead by your minions. It's hard to say which is exactly better, but at least now you don't have to worry about clicking Bone Barrier. Bold Undertakings, Atlas Passive Keystone now provides maps have an extra random prefix and suffix while 6 gateways are allocated, instead of chance for maps to have 1 2 type of bone constant 0 and 10% chance to have 3 types of bonus content. I think this is overall a bit of a buff. I kind of like this in that now it's more consistent, and it just takes away this random 10% chance. You know, that's only 1 in 10 maps. Now you get a random prefix and suffix with every single map. I think this is a good change. Lucid Dreams was nerfed slightly, so now it's only a 50% chance to drop a Val item instead of a 100% chance, but this is okay because the main reason of Lucid Dreams was actually because of tied back to having to find Val Orbs. Lucid Dreams in Ruthless was actually one of the main ways to obtain Val Orbs to Val rare maps. So now that we don't need Val Orbs, they've toned down the rewards from Lucid Dreams, which is mainly Val Orbs, and so that's kind of fine. Overloaded Circuits got a straight buff, so it's now 5 random unallocated notable Atlas passives instead of 3, so that's a straight buff. So this next one's quite interesting and definitely worth a bit of a discussion. Unwavering Vision Atlas Keystone passive now grants 10 Atlas passive skill points. If we just go to the actual original one, added a new Atlas passive Keystone Raven Vision, which grants 20 Atlas passive skill points. So they kind of put the Ruthless version onto the base version of the game, and then they nerfed the Ruthless one even more. So now the base version of the game gives you 20 Atlas passive skill points, and now the Ruthless one only gives 10. 10 is pretty minimal, and the fact that you can't find scarabs anymore and maps can't be modified by fragments. In terms of Ruthless, I don't think this is really worth taking in any circumstance. The fact that now we'll get so much of the content we'll receive from Ruthless will come from scarabs. Just 10 passive skill points is not really worth it. Before, you'd pretty much quickly rush and path up to here, and what used to be Wandering Path is now going to be this Unwavering Vision. You can't even fill out your map pack size wheel with 10 points. It's, you know, I mean, you can, because if you path up to it, you're going to be taking these 3. So technically you can, but 10 points is just pretty minimal. I would not go for this anymore. That's just my opinion. I think 10 points is way too little to sacrifice scarab drops, because now that's going to be a big source of content, and now the fact that scarabs drop anywhere, it's I don't think this is worth taking or rushing to at all anymore. So I think the strategy of rushing to get the extra skill points, I think it's kind of dead in the water for Ruthless. I don't think it's a good idea at this point. Notable Conquered Conquerors now provides 35% increased chance to drop a Conquer map, previously 30. This is a straight buff. Most endgame Ruthless trees should have this allocated, which where is it? I think right here. So now it'll be 35%. This should be an auto-include in most endgame trees, barring some specific farming strategies or whatever. Expect the Unexpected provides 30% increased rarity found in maps. So if we just take a look at that, it is over here. 50% quality of maps offered by Kirak missions. So now instead we will get 30% increased rarity in maps. Sure, that's fine. This is quite a nice one. The Chittering Champions Atlas passive provides final map boss in each map has 10% chance to drop an additional scarab. I think this is pretty good. I don't believe this is currently in the... Oh no, it is. Oh no, it's not. Yeah, it's currently not on the Atlas. Yep, added a new scarab cluster and Chittering Champions. 25% chance. So yeah, the base game gets 25%, we get 10%. I think this is a pretty good one to take because now, again, scarabs are going to be a big source of content, so this should be pretty good. Price of progression, maps have a chance to get Doomed Spirits. I think this has to do with the new league mechanic, kind of whatever. Bestiary, honestly, we just don't care about Bestiary at all. Don't care about Bestiary. Small Kirak mission chance Atlas instead provide 4% increased Atlas scouting reports found in your maps. So I believe they are talking about stuff like this, these Kirak mission chance. So obviously now there are no more mission selections. So the 4 ones you can select, they no longer appear. I guess that has to do with this, so they kind of removed all that. So now instead we will just be getting increased Atlas scouting reports. I'm not sure if it's really worth pathing for these anymore then, because Atlas scouting reports, I don't think that's definitely not as good. They actually lowered chances of finding certain things. So now what's interesting, the maps have 100% chance to contain Alva just in time. This, let's see if it's here somewhere. No, it looks like this is also a new one. Yeah, replaced with a new just-in-time notable. Yeah, with 20% chance to contain Alva. So basically, since now the 4 new master missions are going to be included in the pool, these are actually worth taking because we want to prioritize Alva, and ideally I'm going to personally prioritize Nico as well. So I actually might end up taking these because I want to reduce the chance of getting Einhar and of getting Betrayal. I just don't like Einhar and Betrayal as much. I would rather get Alva. I would rather get Nico. So this one will actually be useful. And then a lot of small node changes. I mean, these effects are relatively more minimal. Basically, they've changed a lot of the percent chance to contain certain encounters. This probably has a lot to do with the changes in the fact that there are now it's a 1 in 14 chance, so they've probably had to tweak the numbers a little bit, and pretty much everything has gotten tweaked to some extent. Going down here, there's some other interesting stuff. Vivid Memories, now 1% chance. That is a pretty big change. That basically should also be an auto-include. 1% is actually a pretty high chance. So this is about triple what it was before. Should definitely be included in late game Atlas trees. So now this one shows they kind of gave us all the information about which safe house gives what reward. So if you are looking to kind of specifically target certain content, or if you do a lot of betrayal and you want certain scarabs, this will just tell you how to do that. Alright, so let's see. Yeah, so I don't think, yeah, this is not included. This is not part of Ruthless. Some other interesting things I did notice for specifically what I want to do, there was actually an Insanguinate change, but this is Insanguinate of Transmission, which I wasn't really planning on using, so not a particularly big deal, but it looks like they did buff Insanguinate of Transmission a little bit. And another interesting thing is now we'll get 3 different Atlas passives, so that'll be pretty nice. So before in my previous video I said how I would either go for Blight or Ritual. Well, now I can do both. And I actually can even get a 3rd tree. I don't know exactly what I'll make the 3rd tree. I'll probably more focus the 3rd tree on sort of miscellaneous stuff that I would want, or just some kind of experimental tree. That kind of remains to be seen. So that is basically the Ruthless changes. One thing that's quite nice about this patch for Ruthless is that actually not really any nerfs per se, which is quite interesting considering it's Ruthless. Usually with Ruthless they always nerf it, but it seems like now a bit of quality of life improvements, maybe a little bit of nerfs to certain things like having unwavering vision now instead. Doesn't give you don't get the 20 points anymore. Overall though, I really like these changes. So the focus now is definitely going to be to get the scarabs for content. That's going to be a big way to get content, and then you can target farm. You can turn the scarabs 3 to 1 them for a different scarab if you're looking for different content. So overall, it's pretty welcoming changes. I'm still planning to start off the league with the Exsanguinate Scion. If you're interested in seeing kind of that video, you can watch the previous video on my channel. So yeah, I overall pretty happy with that. That's kind of the patch notes. In terms of this, again, the crafting changes look pretty nice. That's going to definitely open up quite a bit more opportunity to get some good rares, especially given Ruthless. We'll see about doing all these Ubers and stuff. I don't know if this will ever happen for me in Ruthless. Maybe, but maybe not. This is some pretty high tier content. So if I can get to this new endgame content in Ruthless, that would be pretty impressive. New scarabs. So yep, as you can see now, we just get. This is what I still don't really understand. I don't understand. So if you take like an ultimatum scarab of inscription like this one, do you still have to put the regular scarab in to get the ultimatum encounter itself? Or that's what I'm not too sure about yet. The divination card, this divination scarab of curation is definitely quite a game changer. The fact that we don't need to sit in Crimson Temple anymore is quite nice. I haven't really taken a deep look at the Transfigured gems, but it's not something I particularly plan to do. I have been pretty much sticking to Sanguine of Transmission, so that's probably what I'm going to stay with. And yeah, I think pretty exciting stuff. I will be playing all weekend of League launch, so it'll be a good time. And yeah, some of these items look good. This Wraith Lord looks really good. Never really played a Spectre build, but this looks pretty strong. Mana Storm, I'm not too sure about these other ones. That one looks interesting. Anywho, I think that's going to be it for this video. I think I've rambled pretty long, so if you have any comments, any questions, just want to talk Ruthless, go ahead, leave a comment below. Otherwise, I'll be League starting Ruthless solo self-found on March 29th. See you then.